in the evolutionary story, we're considered to be Homo sapiens.
Yes.
Okay. Then there's the story of the Homo erectus. So we have these different stages of our evolution. I think some people miss it when they think that being the Homo sapiens that we are in the modern world is the top. It is not. It is an adolescent level that we are going out of, and we're coming into co-creative spiritual adult take responsibility level. And
Definitely.
we're feeling the growing pains of that. If there's a message coming out of the universe, it's, oh, grow up. And that's what I hear the universe saying. Let's grow up. Take the responsibility of who we are here to be.
Hello and welcome. My name's Campbell. This is Autodidactic. Welcome back for another chat, another conversation with Campbell. Thank you for tuning in, because that's what we're going to be doing today, I guess, learning how to tune in a bit more. We have David from SomaEnergetics. And yeah, we're going to get into, I guess, the healing, and it's really sort of new age healing, and it's more of a story of, I guess, healing our spirits really, and sort of getting back to who we are, rather than what we've been told about healing little parts of us. What I like about what David talks about is that it's a whole, it's getting back to the blueprint, I guess, and tuning that in. And then, because everything comes from the blueprint, right? If we don't have the right foundations, then
Right.
it's pretty hard to build, a temple that will stand the test of time. So welcome, David. Thank you so much for being here.
Well, thank you. I'm looking forward to our time together today and with your audience.
Thank you. And of course, everyone will see all the tuning forks in front of you. And you, of course, have generously sent me some, which I've been playing with. And they're amazing. So yeah, I've definitely, and also your book, A Fork in the Road. Oh, if we can tune that in. Yeah, I haven't read it all, but it's really, I'm really liking it. It's definitely, resonating with me, but it's also written, it's an easy read. It's one of the, something that I like, that I sort of try and do in my life is condense information down to, get a lot into a little, if you know what I mean. And you've done that really well. You sort of read it and there's all this information, but it's not hard to read. It's written well. So I definitely recommend getting that book and having a read.
Okay. Thank you.
Now the book obviously is your story. So should we start with, do you want to sort of introduce, sort of how you ended up here, a bit of your story, and let us know a bit about David.
Okay, great. Well, I often tell people that I felt like I had a different rapport with time and space. From the time I was born, I just saw things very differently than the majority of people did. So I've decided to give in to that and see where would it take me in life. And this is where I've ended up at this time with working with sound and vibration and whatever. But actually, this began as a young man. I was raised in Tulsa, Oklahoma. At that time in the 50s and 60s, Tulsa was known for two things: oil, as the oil capital of the world, and Oral, which was Oral Roberts, the healing evangelist. So I was drug around all these healing campaigns and I was very observant for a young man, but I couldn't figure out why some people healed and others did not. I couldn't figure it out, because my whole idea of some being out there who loves us all the same, why would he favor some people and not others? So it kind of planted the seed early in my mind, like, why do people do not heal and some do? Well, that continues forward for many decades when I moved into more metaphysical kind of principles that I noticed again. Now, the big thing with that community was manifesting. Everybody was going to workshops trying to manifest more prosperity, the law of attraction, all that kind of thing. People trying to find their soulmates and twin flames, and people trying to manifest, and some did and some didn't. And I thought, here's a pattern of what's happening and not happening. Well, that's what was the beginning of what I call a download. And when I mean a download, I mean thoughts I wouldn't have never had myself. When a thought comes into your consciousness and you say something like, I never would have thought that, you know that you've received a thought from another dimension, part of yourself. We call it the higher self, the Holy Spirit. You can call it many things, but sometimes it has a hard time getting its thought into the brain without interpreting it through the lenses of culture, society, religion, and all the things we've been taught. So that's an experience that I think more and more people are having. We call them epiphanies, but actually it is the penetration of higher sacred thought penetrating the human mind. And we're going to see more and more of that. And actually you can see it more and more by the use of vibration, because using certain combinations of vibrations, such as in our case, tuning forks, or it can be bowls or bells or whatever you use that vibrates, is creating these pathways, these little portals between dimensions that's allowing more from higher dimension to come through to us in the form of a new construct, a new way of seeing ourselves, seeing the world. And we're going to need this, Cambell, very much to navigate through this time of breakdown and chaos that the world is going through. We need to hear from a higher source.
Yes.
Now, I want to say to you that SomaEnergetics, the philosophy of SomaEnergetics, which was developed about 23 years ago, has to do with the facts of moving us forward from trying to fix things that are broken to evolve things to their next level of potential. That's a different thing, because most healing modalities are based upon, I'm broken, fix me. I got a pain, fix me. But we don't go to the depths of understanding the cause of the pain. And to do that, you've got to have something subtle to get you there. Now, think of all the years and years that we had this Newtonian materialistic idea of the world, and we saw really the world of effect. When we use our five senses, right, I see the world of effect, and I don't see the world of cause. So how do I get to the world of cause? It's a subtle, we call it subtle energy. So when you go into the subtle energy part of yourself, you got to have something that's subtle to get you there, and there's nothing more subtle than the vibration of a tuning fork. And why I say a tuning fork is because tuning fork is a raw, pure vibration. Now, you take music. We all love music. But the thing about music is there's attached a certain emotion to it. When you hear certain music, I just watch it in movies. I mean, if you took the music out of movies, the movie would not make a bit of sense, because we're all being driven by the music that's in the background all the time, right?
Yeah.
So I think you have to go back to that subtle level of sound in the background of life. And there, when you go back there and start changing those patterns, then you change the why things are the way they are in my life. And as a speaker for many years, this is what I'm hearing the most in the last few years, is why are things happening the way they are? What is happening in the systems of the world today? I call it 3D systems, meaning whether it's finance, education, political, religious, I don't care where it is, it's all in some state of breakdown. Well, I know that doesn't sound good, but spiritually it's wonderful that we're living on the planet at a time in which cycles are coming together. You got a 1,000-year cycle, you got a 2,000-year cycle, you got a 25-year, 100-year cycle astrologically. You've even got a 213-year. That's all come together in our time. Now, that causes what I call sacred stress. So we're all kind of stressed out trying to figure this all out. What's the next step, right? So what I'm offering is not just healing in the sense of you're broken, I'm going to fix you, which there's nothing wrong with that. These particular tuning forks here that you see these weights on it is for working on the body itself. That'd be your acupuncture, things that are physical. But these over here, if you can see these okay, these don't have the weights on them. So therefore they work in the energy, etheric blueprint of the body, which we're going to talk about in just a little bit and show you and show your listeners exactly what I mean by the fact of etheric energy is the energy before it drives cellular development, right?
Yes.
So if we want to change our bodies from I'm broken, fix me, to a state of wholeness, we're going to have to go back to the subtleness and begin with vibration again. Now, my background has been for decades before I got into all of this as a minister. Not a orthodox minister by any means. I've always had a different view of a lot of teachings in the name of religion and spirituality, but I found myself to be finally much more spiritual than religious, and I know that's almost a cliche nowadays, but it's true that people are shedding the skin of old religion and still wanting a spiritual connection with something bigger than themselves, right? So that's kind of a movement that's out there, I think, that's very important and that we need to look at. So I have a lot of that theological background in me, and a lot of that my higher self uses symbolically to communicate with me. So I decided, okay, I'm going to go back to my so-called source of learning. So I went and picked up my Bible one day, and I found an old Bible that I had, and I opened it up to Genesis. It says, "And God moved across the face of the deep." And I thought, well, that's strange. The Bible language is really difficult if you don't. It's a code. You have to decode it to understand what's going on at a deeper level. And I thought, God moved, and I'm seeing this old white guy out there in the sky who's moving. What does that mean? So as I began to research that, I found the word moved in one context meant flutter. And I thought, God flutters? And I thought, well, that's kind of, where's this going? So I just kept going deeper into the translations, and I finally said, and God vibrated across the face of the deep. And I knew that metaphysically, this is talking about our higher spiritual divine self penetrating vibrationally through the human mind, through the deep of the psyche. And so I thought, well, that means everything begins with vibration. Everything is vibration, is energy vibrating. So if we're going to have this new earth that everybody's talking about, and this new age that so many people are talking about, we got to go back to what creates that, and that's vibration, energy, sound. And that's what drew me back to this point to do this. Now, in the very, you want to jump? You'll say something?
No. It's great.
A moment.
I was just.
Are you good? Okay. I know I got a lot. Have a lot to say, so I'll do my best to be guided.
Yeah.
But anyway, that satisfied that part of my mind, that training part of my mind, that, oh my goodness, it's kind of deeply coded in probably all texts, whether it's the Quran or the Bible or the Kabbalah or whatever. I have a feeling that there's a thread of truth that binds all of those together at some deep level. We just don't tend to go deep enough to understand really the essence of what is being said in most of these things. And if we don't, then by the letter, we're divided by belief system, right? I believe this, and you believe that, and you're not me, and I'm not you, and separation lives, and it flourishes in our time. So we have to do that quantum thing of going into the place where all the spokes that seem so far apart out here all come together into the hub, where we unite together. And that is a consciousness. There is a universal consciousness. Now, you can call that consciousness God, source, I don't care what you call it, but that's the point where we all are one. And we've lost that connection. We've lost that. And we believe that I'm not you and you're not me. And we've used race and gender and who's this and who's that and all those things to separate us so much on this world that we're seeing that kind of come back and bite us. So we've got to get back to going into the subtle aspect of ourselves. So at the end of the 80s, I was in meditation, and what came to me, it was like something formed in my mind and said deoxyribonucleic acid. Now, I didn't even know how to say that word. I'd never said that word. And I thought, where is this word coming from? I did know that it was the technical name of DNA, but I had to learn to say it. And I thought, at that moment, my mind outgrew my brain. Now my brain has to learn from another part of intelligence that's out of my head. And what an experience for the mind to outgrow your brain. Oh my goodness, there's a difference. Everybody says mind and they point here, but the mind is in every cell of your body. The mind is everywhere. The consciousness is everywhere. And the more we tap into that, the more that we can really heal ourselves of this belief of separation
So
that is out there
do you
like that.
see the mind as the same as spirit, essentially?
Yes, the mind would be, another word for mind would be soul,
Yeah.
which in the Greek is psyche, which we get the word psychology, psychiatry. That's another part of the soul. But then there's a higher part of the soul that's in the with is spirit. So spirit kind of has been divided by our belief system to be attached to the body or to that spirit. And unfortunately, the one that's attached to our body uses the body to prove I'm not you and you're not me. Okay. And uses the body because that's where we're all so different and separate, you know. So we've got to get into that more subtle aspect of itself. So anyway, from that, I got into somebody called me. You know, the old saying, when the student is ready, the teacher appears.
Yeah.
And somebody out of the blue said, I don't even know why I'm telling you this, but there's a doctor out in California that's teaching DNA activation workshops. Well, I'd never heard those words before because I, like everybody else, thought DNA was set in stone. There's nothing I can do about what the 23 chromosomes I got from my parents and my mother and my father. It's just the way it is. I'll always be that way. Well, we know that's not true, mostly because of Bruce Lipton's great work that he's done to tell us. And of course, even what Life magazine came out not many years ago and says DNA is not your destiny. It is not set in stone. So that's all changed today because of the fact that I think that the paradigm today is everything is energy.
Yeah.
Which is what Einstein told us. And all the fathers of quantum physics tried to tell us this over 150 years ago. Everything is energy. Well, I find out that most people don't really understand that term, everything is energy, from everything has energy. There's a difference. Everything is energy,
yeah,
and not just has energy. So that changed everything for me. The whole foundation changed for the fact that everything is energy. So I thought, okay, you got to start with energy. And then you got to realize that matter is only energy vibrating in certain frequencies. That's all matter is. It is energy through vibration, creating a material pattern that manifests as a chair, as a building, as a body, even. Everything comes from that place of everything is energy.
yes.
So anyway, try to make this as short as I can. I got into this DNA activation workshops and started doing it around the country. And the way we learned to do it back then, and this was many years ago, was that we learned about DNA, but we learned how to use certain sounds and music to activate the DNA in people that is not being used. And what caught my attention was the music that had been prepared by people who are intuitive, who are psychics, who were in the room when people were doing Reiki and doing all kinds of energy work, and was translating that into vibrations of sounds that was recorded. So I thought, wow, that's really cool. So sound is really affecting our DNA vibration. So in the midst of all of that, I heard about a frequency that was 528. Now, a lot of your listeners out there may know about the 528 hertz. It's kind of worldwide. It's a movement unto itself. It's kind of a heart chakra frequency. It's a love frequency. It is a frequency we certainly need in the world today. So there's actually a lot of movement on that. And that happens to be this particular fork right here that I'm holding up. So we have, plus we have one that I'll show you in a minute. But we have a 528 frequency, and I thought 528 is not something we have in Western 12-tone temperament music. We don't have a 528C. And something said to me, but you got to have the specific frequency. And I thought, well, how am I going to get that if the instrument has that in it, or any scale that's say 440A tuning has that in it? How do I get it? Well, again, another player shows up and says to me, I don't know why I'm calling you, but did you know that you can have any frequency made you want in a tuning fork? Well, all these buzzwords that were coming to me was resonating with me beyond my brain even, because I didn't understand tuning forks. Now, I remember as a kid, we had a piano and a guy would come in every year with a little tuning fork and tune our piano with it. That's about all I knew about a tuning fork. But I became attracted to this subject of vibration and pure sound through a tuning fork. So at the time that I was considering this, I also found out there were 5 other frequencies that went with this series. Now, I'm using not the word scale, but series. It's a series of frequencies, not a scale of do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. It was a series of frequencies working together in ways in which was repatterning the old patterns of that we have known, in the past. So I found out about those, and something said to me, why don't you have all 6 of them done into tuning forks? I said, okay. I don't know why, what I'm going to do with them, but I did it. So I ended up with these 6 frequencies of the series, which is called the original solfeggio. And I don't want people to confuse solfeggio with original solfeggio. Even the original solfeggio was changed. Like everything else gets redone by certain influences of people who want it their way or whatever. So we lose in translation. But if you can get back to the most pure level of anything, you'll find the less interpreted. So when I held those forks in my hands, Campbell, I absolutely knew that I was at a fork in the road, literally. That not just a tuning fork, but the fact that I was getting ready to change everything and go into a complete direction that I had never gone before. It was uncharted, but I was willing to do it. So I just said yes to the universe. Let's go on this journey and see what happens. And so I had the tuning forks, and I started talking a little about them and their frequencies and what they mean in my talks and lectures. And I noticed people shifting in their chairs as I talked about it. It was affecting the room every time I would talk about these solfeggio frequencies. And I thought, wow, this is some really strong stuff here that's going on. And then I'm trying to make this short as I can to get to where we need to get. But then I found out that, well, let me tell you the story. I was somewhere in the backwoods of Ohio, teaching at a retreat center called Angels in the Valley Retreat Center. And this lovely lady I had met in New York City, in Manhattan, a very distinguished Irish Catholic lady who kind of liked what I was saying and began to support me some. And here she shows up in this place in Ohio, and I'm going, why is she here and how'd she get here? So she informs me that she was here because in a dream she was told to come and tell me to use the tuning forks on her. And I said, but I don't know how to use tuning forks. I'm not trained in tuning forks. I know nothing about it. I wish I could help you. I'm sorry you made this long trip. So she comes back to the session in the morning and says, I was up all night. David, I'm here because you've got to use these tuning forks on me. So I said, okay, meet me at 2 o'clock this afternoon when nobody's around and we'll play with these forks. And Campbell, when I said play, I tapped into my imagination part of my mind. Because that's what children do. Yes. When you play, you imagine. You can take a stick that somebody would throw away and you can make it a horse and ride it. You can do anything. And that's why I think that the teacher said, unless we become as a child, we should not enter the things of the spiritual world. Okay, yes. So I was willing to play, just step out and play. And so I met her. I didn't know what to do. All I had was those 6 tuning forks, didn't know how to use them. How do I sound them? And something said, take your shoe off and use the sole of your shoe, the rubber. And I thought, I'd have never thought of that. Where's that coming from? So and something kept saying to me, do what you know. And I said, well, I know about the 528 tuning fork. And they said, well, pick it up and use it. And to make a long story short, I just started doing this and doing that. And it just started coming to me what I was to do to balance her between her right and left, male and female, yin and yang, whatever you want to call it. And it was amazing. And she shifted on the chair and I did too. And I knew that this is the way that I was going to go. So bottom line to all of that is that through that, I began to receive downloads on how to use this. Now, let me go back to where I began as this young man, why people don't heal and why some do and why some manifest and don't. I'm convinced that where we are in the human evolutionary story, now I'm a creationist, which is a word I made up because I've married creation and evolution together.
Okay.
So I'm a creationist because I don't believe it's either this or that. I think they both work beautifully together. I think there's a part of us that has created whole. I think there's a part of us that's evolving to that wholeness. And that's the journey that we are connecting, that we're coming to right now that is so powerful, is where evolution meets creation. And that is absolutely sparking a spark of energy as we've never had before, that's almost overwhelming unless we learn to know what to do with it. What do we do with that energy? And that's where SomaEnergetics comes in with such a great philosophy of teaching people basically what to do. And so what I came up with, if you in the evolutionary story, we're considered to be Homo sapiens.
Yes.
Okay, then there's the story of the Homo erectus. So we have these different stages of our evolution. I think some people miss it when they think that being the Homo sapiens that we are in the modern world is the top. It is not. It is an adolescent level that we are going out of, and we're coming into co-creative spiritual adult take responsibility level. And we're feeling the growing pains of that. If there's a message coming out of the universe, it's, oh, grow up. You know, remember Joan Rivers, that was her big saying when people would in her comedy stuff groan at her for saying something, she'd say, oh, grow up. And that's what I hear the universe saying, let's grow up, take the responsibility of who we are here to be. So I am convinced that we don't heal because we are the people. The legacy of Homo sapiens is survival of the species. We've survived wars. We've survived famines. We survive and survive and survive and survive. We've survived the 5 times that the world has almost come extinct. You know, we've gone through 5. The last time was 65 million years ago when the dinosaurs all left and a comet hit somewhere, maybe around Mexico or somewhere, and wiped out 95% of the species, but something survived. Something always survives. And I think that there is a yearning for more than survival within the human soul, and that is to flourish and to thrive. And so what I came up with, people don't do it because they don't have energy beyond the survival level to thrive. Let me give you an example that I think everybody can understand. And this is the one I use all the time. Let's say somebody who's a person of faith and vision, and they really love what SomaEnergetics is about. They want to be a blessing, and they just feel by faith, I'm going to write you out this $10,000 check to support your cause. And I'm going to believe that if I do this, the universe is going to take care of it. Well, logically, if they don't have it in the bank, the check's not going through, right? So if they write the check and there's nothing to back it up, it's insufficient funds. Now, see that as a metaphor of not getting the healing, not getting the manifestation, because you needed all your energy for survival. So let's say this person just makes enough money to pay the rent, the car payment, the groceries, whatever. They need all their money just to survive. And now they've got a special need where they need energy beyond that survival, but they don't have it. So bottom line is this. I said, how can I connect people's personal energy body to universal energy body? Again, in my metaphor, how can I march them down to the World Bank, get money out, bring it back and put them in their account, and they can write bigger checks and manifest? So that was the first thing that was given to me in phase 1, is the ability to use these tuning forks to connect people's energy to universal energy. Then something said to me, now use the chakra system in how to contribute that intelligently through the energy body to raise the energy body to a different level. So that's kind of how that started out, and that's what we do. I'd like to spend some time, if it's okay, talking a little bit about. Go ahead. Go ahead.
And you look, well, I think it's in your book. You say often, you know, we're not bodies with spirits or auras or whatever. We're spirits with bodies, right? It's the other way around. So when you were talking about the retuning and people living just, in survival instinct, do you see, well, I guess you do, because before we said mind is spirit. So is it literally our thoughts that we believe there's not enough that's creating the body that we're living in, right? Because it starts out in the thought and then comes down, condenses into the body, and that's what we experience. So we need to change.
Very well put.
Out there. Yes. Gotcha.
Okay, you got it. You got it. Very good. That's excellent. So let's talk about that. I sometimes I have spiritual dyslexia because I see everything spiritually backwards. Like looking in a mirror. When you look in the mirror at an image, that's not you. And if you part your hair on the right, it looks on the left. So everything's kind of backwards.
Yeah.
So when you get into the spiritual aspect of your mind, sometimes things turn around differently than what you've been taught that it is. So most everybody believes that the body has an aura. Well, I saw it differently. I saw the aura is and has a body. So I think people start with the body because the brain starts with matter to energy, but the mind starts from energy to body. Energy is always first, right? You can't have a body without energy. You can't have anything without energy, because energy is the ground in which we manifest from and create from. So I have a little, just a few seconds. I think this is about 90 seconds or so of something I'd like to show what I'm saying to you in this illustration. I think it'll say it better than I do. So if we're ready to run that.
SomaEnergetics.com presents etheric repatterning. The human aura is made up of 7 layers. From the physical, etheric, emotional, mental, astral, etheric template, celestial, and catheric. The outermost layer is the catheric, which holds our divine blueprint of the perfect body. As those perfect set of instructions work their way toward the physical body, they are distorted by unresolved issues in our life stream that have not been properly cleared. Those energetic distortions cause less than perfect instructions to reach the etheric body, just inches from the physical, where the physical body gets its blueprint. In Soma Energetics, we work in the etheric field with ancient frequencies to discern these energetic disturbances and assist the client in clearing and repatterning those issues that they are ready to release. This completely flips the idea of the body has an aura, matter before energy, to the aura has a body, energy before matter. Studies have shown that issues in the physical body appear 6 to 9 months earlier in the aura. This makes the energy work of Soma Energetics preventative. For more information about these amazing concepts, visit SomaEnergetics.com.
So I hope being able to see that mentally helps people understand that everything is also coming in. Of course, it goes out too, but it has to come in, and it has to find a way of going through these different layers of bodies that we call all these different mental, emotional, whatever, and not lose the interpretation of itself. And unfortunately, because of blockages, it could be from past lives, it could be from present life, it could be from your Akashic records, it could be emotional blocks, it could be suppressed things that you've not balanced in a lifetime that's showing up right now. Everything is showing up because the toxicity of the collective soul is so toxic that it has nowhere to go but to emerge at the top. So you see it in the body politic. I know recently I had a terrible breakout right here, and I thought, why do I have that? But I realized the toxicity in my body couldn't handle it any longer, so it showed up. And so that's what I see with all this craziness that's going on in the world today, is our own past toxicities that have built and built until it's emerging on the body politic. Now, that's a spiritual thing, not a good thing, but it's a spiritual thing. Now, we need the call of facilitators. Now, I'm going to call them facilitators because I'm very careful about calling people healers. I think healers is a little egoic term that says, I have a gift better than yours. No, maybe you're trained, maybe you have a passion for something that somebody else didn't. But I think all we can do is help people, because I think the body knows how to heal itself. You don't need me to heal you. I can be a facilitator to create a right atmosphere for the intelligence of the body to get all the way out here from the etheric, get into the astral, mental, emotional, and finally make itself known in the blueprint of the etheric that drives cellular development. Now, we know that cells right now, while we're talking, is dying by the tens of thousands and replacing themselves all the time. Where are those new cells coming from? The etheric blueprint. And that's why you work with these tuning forks in the etheric blueprint to change cause. If you change this, you'll change that. You don't have to heal this. This will all take care of itself when cause has repatterned itself and manifests itself according to the divine blueprint rather than the ancestral genetic. So you got two stories going on here. You got the story of your creation, which is very successful. You're very whole. You are what your creator is. You are too. It is an equal thing, spirit to spirit, right? Divine to divine. But in the we've lost it for the human story of all of the story that has gone on in our ancestry and all of that part. And we bought into that story. So it's time to bring and restore the new story back, people.
So this is what you
so I wanted to read some.
Oh, sorry. You sort of mentioned before that this can help people that are stuck in their lives, right? We're not just talking physical health here. We're talking sort of mental blockages. If people sort of find themselves going around in circles back to the same point all the time, this is a healing method for that as well, right? Which a lot of people are kind of finding themselves in right at the moment, right? They want all this change. They're trying to do things, but there's something blocking them.
Exactly. And that's what we call them discrepancies. And it's like putting a dam up in a flowing river and it's not flowing anymore and it catches all the debris. You'll see that in a stagnant body of water. All the debris shows up because there's no flow to move it out. So a lot of people need that creation of that blockage being undone, and then the flow will take care of itself. I'd like to share something out of my book real quickly that I think is so important. I don't know how many of your listeners are familiar with some of the very early pioneers of more metaphysical thinking, such as Alice Bailey is one that I really enjoy, that is from England, I believe, and was around 100 years ago or so, whatever. But she had a tremendous effect on the direction for metaphysics. But before she left with a dissertation that I put in my book because I think it's the prophecy of her time that is the fulfillment in our time. So if you'll bear with me, I just feel to share this. The response of the human mechanism to the world of sound will cause development that will usher in a new age. She's one of the first ones to coin this term, new age. It will be an age in which the work of the world will be carried forward through the medium of sound. Isn't that amazing? Now, this is over a century ago. And eventually using words of power and the efforts, now get this, of trained sound workers.
Wow.
Now, this really gets exciting. These workers, understanding the nature of matter, which I think would be the quantum level, and comprehending the purpose of sound, will bring about those structural changes and those material transformations. And here's the important part, which will establish a civilization of a new race. A new race. I love the metaphor about, I wear it out all the time, the metaphor of metamorphosis, of that little caterpillar. Right? It's the best. It's just the best. It's the best. That little caterpillar has spent its life on that leaf, just nibbling and eating up its environment, just like we're doing. All the shortages, all the stuff that's going on is how we misused our fuel and how we misused electricity, and we, all this stuff that's going on. That is the catastrophes of the world we've done to ourselves.
Yes.
We want to blame each other, but actually we've done it to ourselves as a whole of a race, and therefore we got to be responsible for that. But at some point, that little caterpillar says, I don't have much more of a leaf to eat. All right? Where do I go from here? And that's kind of where I think we are. Where do we go from here? If everything's changing so much, I don't know where to center myself. I can't really do it in religion. I can't do it in science. Is proving all the time to not be what they told me it was. Everything is totally being disproved that we thought it was in the old paradigm. So what does that caterpillar do? It just stops. And I suggest that's what everybody needs to do. Take a breath and stop all this fighting and fussing and arguing and blaming each other, and just everybody stop and find a still point in themselves, right? In themselves, and just be still and wait and for what can come in the form of a message. So when that caterpillar stopped, it felt something different. What's going on? I feel differently. I don't feel like I have felt all my life, because something inside was changing and awakening. And that was the begin of its transformation to the next stage. Now, I want to make this, because I think this is a good point. The caterpillar did not go through that to become an enlightened caterpillar. It went through all of that to become the next level of a better species of itself.
Yeah.
And so it wraps itself in the cocoon, and then everything breaks down. The caterpillar breaks down. And I think what I call the third dimensional human, I'm very big into 3D, 5D, by the way, because I think that's where these are going to take us, help us to get in more 5D.
Yeah.
But as 3D is breaking down and all the models are breaking down, people need to get still and allow that new vision, that new seed in them begin to awaken. And that caterpillar didn't know what the future was. It had never seen itself as a butterfly, had no idea, but he knew something was changing. And we know that this is more than just change. This is a transformation. This is a metamorphosis to the next level at what it means to be human, rather than a 3D Homo sapien, survivalist type person, but to become the divine beings that we truly are, all the way to the physical, mental, emotional level. So, what the call is right now is to the light worker. That's why I'm on these programs like this with you, these podcasts, because I want to reach as many people and see, do you resonate with the fact that your calling is to step up right now and become a part of a collective group that will be there to help us make this transition and bridge it to the next level of our bioconscious evolution. So, the 144,000. So, let me show you something about these. The solfeggio frequencies are, there's so much about them. If people get on our website, you can read so much about what these all stand for. But one of the things that is unique that it was given to me is the fact that a lady that researched these back years ago for me was a concert pianist out of Maine. And she comes back after, I don't know, a year or so and says, David, all I can tell you is these go nowhere. And of course, we want things to go somewhere. So I was just like,
What?
I was not happy. It doesn't go anywhere. What does that mean? And something in my spirit said, this is good. And what I realized that what she was saying, it's not linear. It's not 3D. It's not B follows A and C and 1, 2, 3. It was vertical. It was parallel. Everything was existing at the same time rather than in linear thing. And I knew that I tapped into multidimensionalism.
Okay.
I knew that the self is multidimensional. So think about these in a linear sense. Everything turns and finds the spiral in itself. And it does that at a point of density. Well, I think we're at the point of density right now, where a lot of people see it as the end of the world going to drop off. I see it as a curve.
Time to
So we're in a curve. Yeah. And these are the curve. These 6 frequencies is the curve in time space that catches at 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 dimensions.
Okay.
So we become now accessible as multidimensional human beings. And it's already happening.
Yeah.
This is why you see more spiritual things, more revelation, more knowledge coming in, is because of the fact that other dimensions are coming in.
Yeah.
Now, the simplest way to give you an example of that is in my home, as in all of our homes, we have this this ability to have all these stations on our television sets, right? Maybe you got access to 100 stations. I don't know. And all those stations are always going on all the time. They don't just start when you turn them on. They're in the air. They're in the airwaves, all of them at the same time. But if I know a code, like a certain station that I like happens to be 202, if I put in 202, I focus and manifest that station, even though it was in the invisible, now becomes visible. Right? So this is what is happening. We're opening more stations in ourselves, and more information is coming in. And I hope we're tuned to receive this. You have to tune yourself to what's happening in the world. You have to repattern yourself. You have to change your thinking. You have to change how you see yourself. And this is all so wonderfully done and helped through the power and the use of tuning forks. Now, for that, what I wanted to talk about today is something we call a personal kit. A personal kit. And I have all the personal kit. Now, this was developed because a lot of our stuff is for training for people who want to use these professionally, be certified in it, and want to work sound. But I thought, well, we need to reach the people out there who don't want to do it that way, but just wants it in their life. Yeah, I like that. There's a good one. So I decided to put together some things that people can just use without a lot of training. And the first one that I want to talk about is the Ohm tuner. Ohm tuner. We've all heard the power of the Ohm, and like the old saying, there's no place like Ohm. You know, that is the home that we want to go to in ourselves, is to the Ohm in us, because it's the first primordial sound whatsoever. But my goodness, we have reached a lot of the world with this tuning fork, because it's anti-stress, first of all. It is, I keep it all the time, use it on my sinuses, use it every day. You want to use it on your thyroid and the thalamus and all these places, because it vibrates and keeps things flowing. It keeps life going. It keeps all the things going to keep things balanced and keep it healthy. Also in meditation, when you hear the Ohm and meditate to it, it will relax you. It's an all-purpose fork that you can use on your bones, your joints, wherever you want. It's a powerful, powerful. So that's in there. The second thing, and we've had such testimonies on this little thing, it's called a crystal tuner. It's very high pitched, almost to the point that it's irritating to the human brain, but that's okay. Let the brain be intimidated by it, because it's tipping it over into another dimension. But this is for clearing space. So a lot of people who do private work like massage or whatever will use it to clear their space between clients. But you can also use it at home. If somebody comes to see you and it's very negative, when they leave, you just take this and it clears immediately. It also draws in some of your higher beings. If you believe in guides or have a guide of our angels or whatever, it will also bring it in. It is powerful. We hear so much about this particular fork.
That's a good one.
The other thing that we have is the pineal gland tuning fork. Now, I'm very big, I can sit here and talk forever on the pineal gland, but the pineal gland is one of the most important physical little organs in the human body. It has such a spiritual purpose, and it's pretty much been dried up over years and years and years, because it's not been used for any spiritual purpose until around the 70s, and they noticed something was happened to that little gland, that it started vibrating on the tip of it. And therefore it began to be reactivated in people, because it has a very spiritual purpose of receiving information from, say, 5D and translating it into a 3D understanding without losing in the interpretation, is all done in there. But because of fluoride and because of some of the things we've done, we've calcified the pineal gland. And so it needs to be cleared, because you're really going to need that, because the pineal gland is connected to the heart. So this way it bypasses, because see, if that information comes in and the brain says, wait a minute, do we believe that? I don't think that's in my belief system. Reject.
Yeah.
Or no, let's change it to this. So you got to bypass your mental human thinking and go directly to the heart neurons. I'm a heart math person, so
Yep.
we know that there is about 40% of the same neurons in the heart that's in the head, brain.
Yep.
And so when the heart receives it and shoots it up to the pineal gland, the pineal makes it into light and gives it to the brain, and you have enlightenment.
Nice.
That's what an enlightened thought is the light of 5D has entered the brain without losing its interpretation in any way, and you start having higher thoughts coming in, which raises you to a higher living.
Nice.
It's an upgrade. It's resurrection.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I mean, this is what they don't, right? Well, those who we perceive as in power, that they're throwing so much information to, get everyone to, confused at the moment, right? Looking all over the place and taking in all this stuff and everything, putting basically all the information through their filters. Because I've said this a lot, that they want us to create their reality. But I mean, I think the bigger picture is that, this is all to wake us up, really, right? People are, asking what's going on in the last couple of years. And, oh, my God, how do people do that? And look at these crazy people. And, oh, my God, it's all those fault. Why don't they change? But, I mean, this is, it's like you said, right? We're going to grow up. We've at the very least, we've accepted all this stuff to this point, right? And it's our fault. Like, if we want to change it, pointing the finger is not gonna change anything. And I guess this is what essentially you're talking about as well, is us fixing the effects that we see in our life isn't going to change our reality, right? It's not going to create the 5D world. We've got to go back to the drawing board, right? Back to the blueprint, and retune it.
Yes, back to the drawing board. I like that. So the vibration is bridging us out of 3D into 5D. But there's always 4D, and nobody talks about 4D. And 4D is a place in which all of our karmic issues show up in 4D, because you got to balance all your karmic issues to be initiate for 5D. You don't take your stuff into 5D.
Nice.
You don't take, there's no working out karma in 5D. That's all got to be done now in 4D, and that's why everything's showing up for the purpose to balance it. But the fact that we resist each other so much, we're just making the situation worse right now, because we don't understand that our energy has had an upgrade. And even when we do things to each other that's not nice, it's more intensified.
Yeah.
And this thing is intensified to the point of being very concerning of what's going on in the world today and how we're reacting to each other. It's kind of scary. I mean, it's pretty bad. So spiritually, it's saying, okay, I'm bringing all this stuff up. I'm going to use healers here, but light workers that know how to help people to retune and rebalance themselves. And that's what our training programs is all about, is to train people how to help other people. Because what I'm looking for is called the 144,000. I don't know if you've heard of that number before, but it's kind of a famous number in the Bible. Jehovah's Witnesses teach it. A lot of religions teach it. And I thought, and they teach it as a literal 144,000 people. No, it's a vibration. Using the Pythagorean, 1 + 4 is 5 + 4 is 9. 9 is completion. And I thought, who are these that are to step forward? What are they complete? And something said to me, no more lifetimes in 3D.
Yeah.
They've completed all their incarnations in 3D. And this is why you out there listening to me are going through some of the intense things in your life, is because this is the last of your karmic debt to be balanced. Once you get to that point, you're an initiate to make that curve and to the 5D, in which at 5D you start having access to all dimensions. It's in string theory, it's in so many things that it is called. Even in the Bible, it's called, in my Father's house are many mansions. Houses are levels of consciousness. We are the mansion. It's spiritually, it's a wonderful time to be here. Now, the part of us is 3D that's breaking down. The caterpillar that's breaking down part of us is not fun, but it's going to be great when we get those wonderful, beautiful wings and we start soaring into these wonderful dimensions that are opening up for us today. And we can assist you. We can assist you to do that by using these powerful coded frequencies of tuning forks. We can unlock it. I mentioned to you earlier that I had this kind of theological, biblical background. Two things that I always wanted to know in the Old Testament was, what was the keys of David? Because whatever David played on his instrument, lyre, was to drive evil and bad spirits away. And I thought, well, what's the key of David? Then I'm over here, and Yeshua, the teacher, says to Peter, I give you the keys to enter into the spiritual world of the kingdom. And I thought, what's the keys? Well, little did I think, it's not a key you put in a door, but it's a sound. Because we play in the key of C, the key of F. And I thought, what is the combination of those keys that unlocks the door to the rest of ourself that we have forgotten and left behind?
Yeah.
And I believe with all my heart and humility that I've been granted this information. And I'm not the only one. We are in most of the world. We are in Spanish, we are in French, we are in Chinese, and we've reached lots of parts of the world in the last 22 years with this information. And we're just looking for more and more to come in and make this stronger so that we can have that tip into the next level of what it means.
Yeah. Well,
I know our time is up.
Yep, we're getting there.
But I'd like to just, can I just share one more thing to you here? And this is in the front of my book, and it's out of, let me preface this to say, 22 years ago when I was at the fork of the road and I thought, oh, I'm going to lose a lot of my so-called followers and people are not going to go with me into tuning forks and whatever. It was very concerning. And I thought, I need to know. Universe, give me some sign. And I was sitting in my office in Indianapolis, at that time, Indiana, where I lived. And I was alone and I was just quiet. And all of a sudden, a book fell out of one of my shelves. Well, I was on a busy street. My left brain says, okay, that's probably some truck vibrating the book. But I picked it up and it was a real thick book called The Keys of Enoch, which is a very complicated, big book. But it opened to this, and I want to share it with you, what validated my direction. This is from The Keys of Enoch by J.J. Hertog. We, and that's interesting, who are the we, will not suffer the negative radiation or excessive ultraviolet radiations that will bombard the places of the earth, for we will inhabit the safe zones at the time of great geophysical upheavals. Exactly what we're living. Those who are not protected against the radiation will fulfill once again the ancient pre-Aztec saying, which speaks of those who were carried away by the sun's rays into destruction. But the thought adjusters are here. I love this. The thought adjusters are now correcting and repairing our blood crystallization levels of ionized consciousness. Here's the thing, through frequency attunement.
Wow.
I thought, oh my God, there is a consciousness that is asleep in us, even in our blood system, that is ready to be awakened through frequency attunements.
It's got to tune
and that's what we do, is frequency attunements in Soma Energetics.
Nice.
So these will help protect you at the time of all that is going on. We want to trust that is so, that it'll help you to use them every day, put them through your auditory system, get them through the vagus nerve, get them through all your body, get it through the blood, get it through the fluid, get everywhere these solfeggio frequencies, and it'll create for you a Merkaba, a light body. Yeah, you've heard of the Merkabas, the light body. I believe these are the ingredients to help us activate the Merkaba, our light body in us that surrounds us and protects us from all of this that is going to be going on. So we really don't have to escape and go somewhere. I know some people are waiting for Jesus to come back and get them. Some are waiting for the mothership to come and get them. Everybody's waiting for somebody to come and rescue them and untie them from the railroad track, because we all need a savior. But actually, we have the ability to save ourselves if we just tap into that higher intelligence. Wow, I want to thank you so much for this opportunity to share. I know a lot of information, and we would just say, if anybody's out there and you want to stick your toe in, start with the Ohm tuner or get the personal kit and play with it. It comes with a little book that will tell you about everything that I just said about it, and you'll know how to use it and bring it into your life, and just watch and see how your life begins to shift and change, and more begins to show up in your life that you're trying to attract, and how that you will change your whole energy experience in life.
And of course, you'll find all the links below, guys. And there is a special deal too. If you do want to grab some, just use auto, and on your first purchase.
Sorry?
I was just telling the viewers there's a link below, and if they use the word auto,
Yes.
they'll get 10% off their first purchase. And everyone does keep asking, when's this shift? When's this shift going to happen? When's this shift going to happen? Where's the 5D world? And it's going to happen when enough of us are on the right frequency, is when it's going to happen. So how do we do that?
There you go.
There's your answer. So if you feel the call, if you're a healer, if you want it for yourself, click the links below, check it out, and let's tune the world, right? Give it a bit of a tune up and push this on.
There you go. I like that.
And
Thank you. We so appreciate you making this available to reach out a little further.
Definitely. Thank you. And I'd love to have you back on for another chat in the future.
I would love to be. I got plenty more to tell you.
Awesome. Great. I look forward to it. You have an awesome day, and I'll talk to you soon, mate.
Thank you.
Remember, in the end, nobody wins unless everybody wins. Come on!